Of course, the same thing I just did with the bass drum, I could do with the hi-hat using the left foot. Let's see what it sounds like at the slower tempo. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, guess what? The 2 feet can dialogue. And so forth. And also, as Gary Chaffee told me many years ago, taught me rather, they can play unison. So I can do 1 or 3 things. First, I can play with my right foot, bass drum. I can play with my left foot, hi-hat. Actually, 4 things. The third thing would be the dialogue between the two, and the fourth thing would be unison. And I can mix all of this up. So when you're practicing this system, the non-independent system, you should always play along with the right hand. But in actual playing situation, you don't need to play all those notes with the bass drum. So what notes do you play? Exactly the ones you like to play. So it becomes aesthetic, it becomes musical choices. You don't have to play all the notes. You just do it when you practice because you do some work, it's a way to work with your bass drum without getting bored. It's just playing like that. For many people, this is boring. So it's more interesting to do it while you do something else as well and play. And also to gain the little bit of coordination that you need to play unison with your right hand, but it's really easy. So now I'll be playing like if I were to play in a real situation and use the feet in the way. So I won't play the feet all the time, just when I like to do it, And of course, it would be, in a real situation, this would be while I was listening to the bass player, to the soloist or whatever, and everything would be in reaction, interaction, interplay. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. You may have noticed that the volume of my left hand is not that loud. Because if it's too loud, your bass player, your trumpet player, piano player won't be that happy about it. I give a demo, what I mean. 3, 4. And that of course goes for the foot as well, and for the cymbal, for anything. So we must use the dynamics that serve the music, and if it's a piano trio, it's not gonna be. I don't think, but more like that. Which is also a good example of what I was talking about earlier. Speaking of technique, you need a technique that serves the music. So I need to have a touch and a sense of freedom of the stick to allow the stick to play all those notes without my arm working or my hand working, because if my hands work in this respect, I'll have too much volume. But if my stick just bounce free, I have all of those notes and only the volume of the stick. There's not the volume of my anatomy on top of the stick. So the technique in this case, the technique is, as I said, a large subject, and many different we must learn how to do. But in this case, all I have to do is learn how to drop the stick with gravity, not interfere with the bouncing of the stick. All I have to do is learning how to You see the stick is right in my finger instead of me right in the stick. It's the stick that is moving my finger. They are a shock absorber. This is a very important thing. Again, Freddie Gruber. The body becomes reacting to the stick. So the stick does it to you more than you do it to the stick. So all I really have to do, it takes time and practice and a procedure, as I said earlier, but is to control those bounces, to have them do what I want them to do. And you saw, like many guys do this, I can also, if I learn how to connect the release to the going home position or squeeze, somebody calls this release to squeeze, if I learn how to connect the 2 points without stopping them, becomes perpetual motion. Perpetual motion is very easy because it's built-in nature, because it's this. I'm not doing anything right, I'm just making sure that I don't stop breathing. If I stop breathing, the stick dies, and if I stop breathing, I die in a few minutes. Once you have, you're familiar with what I'm talking about, you did some practice, of course, the instrument is much more than just snare and drum and kick and whatever, snare, drum and bass drum, whatever. I have other voices that I can use. For instance, 1, 2, 3. I have other rhythms I can use, for instance, 16 notes. And I can also mix the non-independent idea with independence. Nothing wrong with that. Basically, when you hear me going span, galam, I'm using independence, and when I'm breaking the timer, the cymbal pattern, I'm using non-independence. But for the listener, there's no difference. It's a flow that we should be. This will be a much longer subject, but I'll stop here, and again, please go check out the Bob Moses' book, because it's really revealing too many things. When I started talking about this a few minutes ago, I said I want to find ways to make my broken time groove harder, because there's nothing more difficult than grooving, and nobody's ever gonna fire you because you groove too much. So the more groove there is, the better it is. You might get fired because you play too loud, too soft, too flashy enough to, whatever, but for what I know, nobody went to somebody like Clyde Stubblefield or Steve Jordan and said, "You're fired, your groove is too fucking good. Go back home," So, if there's, if we groove, regarding our groove, the sky's the limit, we all have to practice every day. Thank you. So, speaking of that, I'll start my practice right now. I'm gonna start playing second line type of grooves. Okay. Da 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 boom kum ba dum da sha da ga dum ba dum ba dum ka ding ding ba and ka ding. Okay, if I'm playing this type of a groove, oh. Or any type of groove, even the most simple. No, you know, there's different things I'm doing. You know, I'm playing 8 notes, I'm playing syncopation, I'm playing 2 and 4, I'm playing syncopation, you know, whatever. But I'm definitely not gonna be thinking about those different things separated. I just think of the groove as one unit. Or so I don't really worry about the variations. I just worry about the groove, and then the variation kind of come naturally. And everybody who can play the drums at a decent level can do this. But not everybody can groove with the broken time. Why? Because when we play broken time, we kind of see it as a difficult thing, you know, and there's this against that, against that, and against that. But it's actually a groove with some variations.